Let's go.
Hey, hey, the afternoon daily offering is usually slaughtered at night, 8.5 hours, and offered at 9.5 hours. On the eve of Pesach, it's slaughtered at 7.5 hours and offered at 8.5 hours, whether it is a weekday or Shabbos. If the eve of Pesach fell on the eve of Shabbos, it is either slaughtered at 6.5 hours or offered at 7.5 hours. The Pesach sacrifice is offered after it. The Pesach offering is that one slotted for some other designation, or the Kohen received, transported, and threw its blood for some other designation, or for its own designation, and then for some other designation, or for some other designation, and then for his own designation, it's invalid. What is an example? For his own designation, and then for some other designation, what for the designation of a Pesach offering first, and then for the designation of a peace offering, what is the example of? For some other designation, and then for its own designation for the designation of a Pesach offering, and then for the designation of a Pesach offering. If he slaughtered it for other than those who can eat it, or other than the registrants or who are uncircumcised or contaminated persons, it is invalid. If he slaughtered it for those who can eat it and those who cannot eat it, for its registrants, for other registrants, for circumcised or uncircumcised, or for contaminated or for uncontaminated person, it's valid. If he slaughtered it before noon, it's invalid because it is said in the afternoon. If he slaughtered it before the afternoon daily offering, it is valid provided someone stirs its blood until the blood of the daily offering is thrown. If it was thrown, it is valid. Okay.
Shochet is a Pesach al hachametz. Okay, so there's a specific mitzvah in the Torah. Lo tishchat chametz al dam zivchi. You're not allowed to when chametz is aser. You're also, if you have chametz in your possession, it's a separate iser now to go and check the korban, because that's just it's another hook that if you have chametz in your possession, this is going to mess things up, and we're going to see the more details about that in this Mishnah. Okay, so shochet is a Pesach ala chametz over below saseh. So this is it's a negative mitzvah from the Torah to do the shechita of an animal when for a korban in the mikdash. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Omer afatamid, and Rabbi Yehuda says it's also the case. It's not just the korban Pesach that you're over on, but even on the afternoon tamid, because by the time the afternoon tamid is brought, it's now afternoon, and there's an isra of chametz. So if one of the kohanim who's doing the avoda has got chametz in his possession, he's also violated a law taseh by participating in this korban. Rabbi Shimon Omer haPesach be'arba'asar. He says it depends if it's there's a different halacha. We're going to see that on erev Pesach in the afternoon and on Chol HaMoed, or during any time during the Chag, because you can also bring korbanos on Pesach Yom Tov. So the Pesach itself, if he brings it on the 14th, which is of course the right time, lishmo, if he brought the korban Pesach in the proper way, and he's got chametz in his possession, then he's chayav. V'shelo lishmo, however, if he messed it up and brought it under some other shame, that means the whole korban is pasul, then the chumrah becomes a kula, and since it was an invalid korban, he is no longer in violation of the law taseh of bringing a korban while he owns chametz. Ushar kol hazvachim. But any other korban that you might bring on the afternoon of erev Pesach, like the afternoon tamid, bein lishman, bein shelo lishman, patur. It doesn't matter whether you brought it lishma or lo lishma. Is it a valid korban? Is it not a valid korban? The only thing that's a problem on erev Pesach afternoon is the korban Pesach that's brought properly. However, halacha gets more stringent according to Rabbi Shimon when it comes to the chag itself. Uvamoed lishmo patur, b'shelo lishmo chayav. So now this is an interesting thing. He says when you're talking about the korban Pesach, if you try and bring the korban Pesach on after it's zman, but you think you're bringing a korban Pesach, then you actually have puzzled the korban. You've brought something that cannot be used. And the Gemara explains that this is a case of somebody who was tameh at the time of the first Pesach, which means that he's eligible for Pesach Sheni, which means he still is chayiv in a korban Pesach, and now that he's brought it at the wrong time, it messes up it messes up the korban, and therefore it's a pasul korban, and therefore the chumrah becomes a kula, and he's no longer and he's not chayiv for shechting while he owns chametz. Shelo lishmo, however, if he brings this animal for what should have been a Pesach and he brings it for a shlamim, well, that actually is the default position of a korban Pesach. If it's brought at the wrong time, it becomes a shlamim. So in fact, he's actually brought a valid korban, and once he's brought a valid korban, now mimela, since he owns chametz, he was over on the lo taseh. Okay. With shar kol hazvachim, any other korbanos, let's say in the middle of Pesach, a guy decides he wants to bring a shlamim.
Mhm.
He still owns chametz. Okay. Bein lishman, bein shelo lishman, chayav. Since the korban is valid, even though it doesn't fulfill his obligation, like let's say he took on a neder to bring a korban, and now he brought it during Pesach, and it was even if he messed it up, and it doesn't apply to him, it's nonetheless a valid korban which can go on the mizbeach, and once it's a valid korban that can go on the mizbeach, he's chayav for shechting on chametz. But the exception is, of course, the chatas, and the chatas is that one case that everyone agrees is if you bring it with the wrong kavana, it's pasul, and therefore the chumrah becomes a kula. Chutz min achatas shishchata shelo lishma, in which case he would be pater for shechting on chametz. Your general rule that you take out of this is, first of all, this is just according to Rabbi Shimon over here, the way he's explained it, is that on Erev Pesach, the only thing that you chayav for shechting on chametz is the korban Pesach itself,
Mhm.
unless it was brought around kavana. Okay, and the rest of Pesach, any valid korban makes you chayav, and any pasul korban you pater. That's your basic rule there. All right. Mishna, hey, ha-Pesach nishchat b'shalosh kitos. So now this is kind of these Mishnayos now are much more just sort of narrative. They describe the situation, which is actually quite fun if you like cast your mind into it and imagine this situation. So there are three groups of Yisraelim who come and bring their korban Pesach. I mean, not just Yisraelim, Leviim and Kohanim as well, but just of all Jews who are coming and bringing their korban Pesach. And this is like the whole nation has come to Yerushalayim for the Chag. Okay, Shene'emar, B'shachatu asa kol kahal adas Yisrael. So there are three things that refer to the group. Kahal, Ada, and Yisrael. So these three things are all describing the properties. That's kind of an asmachta. It's something that you rely on that says that it's a good idea to have a group of three groups of people coming to bring the korban. Okay. Nichnasa kasri shana. First group comes in. Nismales hazara. So the whole of the azara is filled with people, all with their korban, with their lambs. Nalu dalsas azara, and they lock the doors. Just this is basic crowd control. Tak'u, heriu tak'u. So they blow the starting whistle, which is the shofar. Tekiah teruah tekiah. Hakohanim omdim shuros shuros, and the kohanim are standing in neat rows, waiting for all of the Israelim. Obviously, not all of the amos there, because you've got one animal that's going to serve 20 people or more.
Right.
So
Right.
you need one representative of the group to come in with the korban. So the kohanim are standing there in rows, nice and neatly. Ubidehem baziche kesef baziche zahav, and temple kalim to catch the blood, which are made out of silver and gold. Shura shekula kesef kesef, shura shekula zahav zahav, and they would alternate these rows of silver and gold to make it look more beautiful. Velo hayu ma'oravin, and they didn't mix it together. Just because it's more beautiful, more orderly to have everything neatly lined up like that. Lo hayu labazichin shulaim, and these bowls that they had did not have a base. They were either rounded or pointed at the bottom. Shema yanichem v'krash adam, so that the coin doesn't forget himself and put it on the floor, and then the dam might congeal and prevent and make the korban pasul.
What happens to an ani? who has, I mean, he doesn't even have a lamb. He doesn't have, he
He's got to
has a
join in.
bunch
He's got to find an ani has got to find some way of joining in. He doesn't. Somebody can give it to him as a gift. They can say, "Oh, listen, this is my thing. I'm giving you part of this korban as a matana."
so he can't, it's not just a matter of becoming a registrant with a
You
group,
have to register. Of course, you have to
right?
register for the korban.
But he has to have his own
No, no, you don't have to have your own. You have to be part of a
part
group.
of the group. So that's fine. If he doesn't have enough, if he can't afford it, no one's going to give him a gift or anything. As long as he's part of a group, he's registered as part of a group. And
If he's registered as part of the group, then he'll eat with that group.
right, yeah,
Is
but
that
as
is
far
that
as
your question?
right, yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as bringing something to a chef to slaughter, he won't have anything.
I don't understand your question.
I thought at some point everyone. Well, no, one person is bringing an animal, and then the people that are in his group,
Yeah.
okay, his slaughtering the animals is covered. They're all covered
Yeah,
under that story.
not everyone has to go into the mikdash to shecht it. You don't want that many people in the mikdash. It'll be too crowded.
Enough people
Only one,
already.
right. Only one person representing the group is coming and bringing the korban.
Okay.
Okay. So next stage, Shachat Yisrael v'kibel Kohen. It's lav dafka. You don't have to have the Israel shechting, but since the Israel is allowed to shecht, and that's the only avoda that the Israel is allowed to do,
Right.
Lamaaseh, that's what they're going to do because you've got a lot of people and only so many kohanim. So as much as you can spread the work around, you do, and typically then the person who's representing your group of who's signed in for the Korban Pesach, they'll choose the guy who knows how to do shechita.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And he comes and he does the shechita, and the kohen is standing and catches the blood. Not and then instead of having all the kohanim taking the blood and walking to the mizbeach, you form a chain. Nosn lechavero v'chavero lechavero. So the kohanim just stay in place and they pass the bowl in a chain of kohanim to get to the mizbeach. Um, and what's not explicit over here is that by the time you get to the mizbeach, there's still a mitzvah of holacha. So one kohen at the end must take a couple of steps towards the mizbeach to throw the blood. Okay, so how does it go? Mekabel is hamaleh umachzir es harikam. So the guy who's standing at the end receives a full one before he returns the empty one. This is because when you don't and ovrim ala mitzvahs, you don't pass over a mitzvah. If somebody is giving you a mitzvah, then you must take that first. Returning the empty kli is not part of a mitzvah. It's just a hechsher. It's preparing so that the next person can use it. Yeah. Kohen akarov etzel hamizbeach zorka zrika achas keneged hayesod, and the Kohen is standing by the mizbeach. He takes a couple of steps and just does one throw on the altar by the base. So you know where the base of the mizbeach it kind of wraps around the altar. If you go around counterclockwise from the northeast corner, there's a little bit on the northeast corner. Then it goes around the north and the west and wraps a little bit around the south side. So typically he would be standing on the east side of the mizbeach because that's where the shechita is happening, just to the side of him over there, and he'll throw it over there. Okay, and that's it.
What do the Levium do at this time? What are they?
Nothing
Are
much.
they?
I mean, they might be they'll be singing.
Shishir, yes, right. Yeah, okay. All right.
That we'll deal with in coming Mishnahs. It'll tell us what the Levium are doing.
Um, okay, base Stalin. Oh, no, base hay. These are the species of grains with which a man fulfills his obligation of matzah on Pesach, with wheat, barley, spelt, rye, and oats, and we can discharge it with demai. And with first tithe whose truma has been separated, and with second tithe for consecrated produce that were redeemed. Kohanim with challah and with truma, but not with untied produce, nor with first tithe whose truma has not been separated, nor with second tithe or consecrated produce that were not redeemed. Regarding the unleavened loaves of the Thanksgiving offering and the Nazarites wore wafers, if he made them for himself, he cannot fulfill his obligation with them, but if he made them to sell to the market, he can fulfill his obligation. And these are the herbs with which one fulfills his obligations on Pesach, with lettuce, endives, horseradish, chacheva, kakavima, and ma'or. One fulfills his obligation with them, whether moist or dry, but not preserved, no stewed, no boiled. They combine to a size of an olive, and one can fulfill the obligation with their stalk. With the mine and with the first tithe offering, first tithe whose truma has been separated, and with consecrated property, and the second tithe that was redeemed. Um, we may not soak bran for chickens, but we may scald it. A woman may not soak bran to make with her, to take with her to the bath, but she may rub it on a skin dry. A man may not chew wheat and place it on his wound or Pesach because it becomes chametz. Okay, that's it. Yeah.
Erwin.
Okay. Mark over here. Okay. Okay, we have base a Gimel base. We may make an error with the mind, but with first tithe, whose truma has been taken, and with second tithe and consecrated produce that was redeemed, a kohanim with challah or with truma, but not with untied produce, nor with first tithe whose truma has not been taken, nor with second tithe or consecrated produce that were not redeemed. If one senses error with a deaf mute, a mentally deranged person, or a minor, or with someone who does not accept erev, the erev is not valid. But when he instructed another to receive it from him, it is valid. If he placed it on a tree higher than 10 tefachim, it's not valid. Below 10 tefachim, his erev is valid. If he placed it in a ditch and even 100 cubits deep, his erev is valid. If he put it atop a reed or atop a pole, so long as it's uprooted and is stuck into the ground, and if it is even 100 cubits high, his erev is valid. If he placed it in a locker and lost the key, the erev is valid. If Elliot says if he does not know where the key is in its place, the erev is not valid. If he rolled beyond the techum and a heap fell on it, or he burned and it was truma which became contaminated, it was still day. If it was still day, the erev is invalid. If it has the dark, the erev is valid. If in doubt, may Yehuda say he is caught in between. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon say a doubtful erev is valid. Said Rabbi Yosef Adamos, attested in the name of the five Chachamim that a state doubtful erev is valid. Okay. And Ma'aser Sheni. Okay. Yud Dalet. Hence they said Israelites in Mamzerim make the confession, but not proselytism. No, it's free bondmen. Nor they since they did not receive a share in the land. But Meir says no priests, no Levites since they did not receive a share in the land. But Yossi says they have the cities with outskirts. Yochanan the high priest abolished the Ma'aser confession. He also abolished the awakeners and the strikers until its days. The hammer used to beat in Yerushalayim, and in his days, no one needed to work concerning the mind.
Hajalach, Maseches Ma'aser Sheni. Challah.
5 species are liable to challah: wheat, barley, spelt, oats, and rye, and these are liable to challah and combine with one another, and they are forbidden on account of chadash before Pesach and new to be reaped before the omer. But if they took root before the omer releases them, and if not, they are forbidden until the next omer.
Yeah.
Yud Aleph. Regarding a young girl whose time to discharge Judah and brother has not arrived and she married, Beis Shammai says we would give her 4 nights, but Beis Hillel says we give her until the wound heals. If her time to discharge Judah and brother arrived and she married, Beis Shammai says we give her the first night, Beis Hillel says we give her until the night of the departure of the Sabbath, altogether 4 nights. If she discharged blood while yet in her father's house, Beis Shammai says we give her the cohabitation of the mitzvah, but Beis Hillel says we give her the entire first night. If Anita examined herself on the 7th day in the morning and found herself to be tahor, and at twilight she did not separate into tahara, and after several days she examined herself and found herself to be tameh, she has a presumption of tahara. If she examined herself on the 7th day in the morning and found herself to be tameh, and at twilight she did not separate into tahara, and after some time she examined herself and found herself to be tahor, she has a presumption of truma, and she conveys truma. Retroactively for a period of 24 hours or from examination to examination. But if she has a fixed period, her time suffices for her. Rabbi Yehuda says, as long as she did not separate into tahara from the time of mincha or later, she has presumption of truma. But the comments say, even if on the 2nd day of her nida period she examined herself and found herself to be tahor, and at twilight she did not separate into tahara, And after some time she examined herself and found herself to be tamei, she has a presumption of tahara. If a Zava and Zava examined themselves on the first day and found themselves to be tahor, and began again on the seventh day and found themselves to be tahor, and on the other days in between they did not examine themselves, Rabbi Eliezer says they have presumption of tahara. Rabbi Yeshua says they have only the first day and the seventh day, where Rabbi Akiva says they have only the seventh day.
Okay.
Paros. And we have Hey. You have two wives and two men, neither of whom had previously
Stop,
given
stop,
birth.
stop, 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 stop. Think we're on Chet Vav. Just check that. Yeah, Chet Vav.
All right, put it on. Well, if a woman who had previously given birth and one who had not previously given birth were the wives of two men, and now they give birth to two males, the one whose wife had not previously given birth must give 5 selim to the Kohen. If they gave birth to a male and a female, there's nothing here for the Kohen. If the son died within 30 days, even though he had given to a Kohen, he must return 5 selim to him. And after 30 days, even though he had not given, he must give. If he died on the 30th day, it is like the day before. Rabbi Akiva says, if he gave, he does not take it back, but if he did not give, he need not give it. If the father died within 30 days, it is presumed that the son had not been redeemed until he brings proof that it was redeemed. After 30 days, it is presumed that he had not been redeemed until they tell him that it was not redeemed. If he has himself to redeem and his son to redeem, he takes precedence over his son. And Yehuda says his son takes precedence over him, for his obligation is incumbent upon the father, but his son's obligation is incumbent upon him. The 5 selim of the son are in the Tyranian mana. The 30 selim of the slave, the 50 of the violator and the seducer, and the 100 of the one who defames his wife are all in the same shekel of the sanctuary in the Tyranian mana. All of them may be redeemed with money or its equivalent, and with the exception of the shechala. One may not redeem either with slaves, with loan documents, or with land, and certainly not in the case of consecrated objects. If he wrote to a Kohen that he owes him 5 selim, he is obligated to give them to him, but his son is not redeemed. And therefore, if his Kohen wishes to give him a gift, he may. And one sets aside money for redemption of his son, and he is lost. He is responsible for it, as it states, it shall be yours, and you shall redeem. Okay. And last we have written. Okay. Verb base. If a woman said, receive my get from me, she needs 2 pairs of witnesses. 2 who say she said so in my presence, and 2 who say he received it in our presence and he tore it up, even if the first witnesses are the same ones as the second witnesses are, or if the one from the first pair and one from the second, and another join with each of them. And Nahara is betrothed, and she and her father can receive her get. Rabbi Yehuda says 2 hands cannot make an acquisition as one. Rather, the father alone receives her get, and anyone who is unable to take care of her get cannot be divorced. If a minor girl said, receive my get from me, it is not a get until it reaches her hand. Therefore, if the husband wants to retract, he can retract because the minor cannot appoint an agent. But if a father said to him, give my daughter's get for her, and if he wants to retract, he cannot retract. If one says, give this get to my wife in such and such a place, and he gave it to her in a different place, it's void. If he said, this she's in such and such a place, and he gave it to her in a different place, it's valid. If a woman said, receive my get from me in such and such a place, and he received it for her in a different place, it's void. If Ellie has a valid seat, and she says, bring my get from such and such a place, and he brought it to her from a different place, it is valid. If a woman said, bring me my get, she may eat truma until the get reaches her hand. If she said, retrieve my get from me. If she is forbidden to eat truma immediately, she says, retrieve my get from me in such and such a place. She may eat truma until the get reaches that place, and Reb Eliezer prohibits it immediately.
Okay, that's it.
Good.
All right.
All right,
A lovely
Mishna.
day.
See you tomorrow morning. Have a great day.
Bye.